We're recording this conversation in November 2021. A year from now, the world changes. The implementation of ISO 20022 to replace MT as the language of global payments is really going to shake things up. It's a difficult transition involving everybody involved in the payments chain, from payments operations people, product management, right the way through to the people who provide and maintain and operate the systems and technology that we use. A lot has been written about ISO 20022 as a theoretical benefit, but the conversations about ISO 20022 have been rather quieter. Biju from Fiorano Software and I, Andrew Muir from Nth Exception, have enjoyed many conversations about ISO 20022 implementation over the last few months, and we thought it would be a good idea perhaps to publish some of these conversations so that you were able to join in. We hope very much to participate in those chats and to develop them further as we investigate more layers of detail under the complex but wonderful world of ISO 20022 implementation. We really hope you enjoy it. I think what we ought to speak about next is what the minimum is that a bank can get away with in terms of preparation for ISO 20022.
I agree. Now, my point is that I don't think that's the way to look at it. I don't think anybody should be thinking, what is a minimum? And I may sound like I'm contradicting myself, because I earlier said the approach is to start with the translator. So you use a converted translator, comply, get familiar, and then you work out your program. The point is, I think at any point in time, it's important the bank has, or banks have, a long-term vision of where they want to go. They shouldn't start off with thinking, what is the bare minimum? Unfortunately, I think we all know that some will be thinking on those lines. So coming back to the point, the bare minimum is don't really change too much. Plug in a translator, you get compliant, but really you're missing out on the huge potential benefits, a huge number of potential benefits that ISO 20022 and the messages bring to the table. And unless you have the tools at your end to be able to receive those messages, deconstruct them, right, take them apart, identify those fields, and extract value from them, you're really missing a big opportunity. And I think today more than ever this is important, because like we discussed earlier, right, banks are at a point in time all over the world, because of things like PSD2 and open banking and fintechs innovating like crazy. Banks are in a position where they're having to rethink their value propositions and their role in the ecosystem. It is not the time to be thinking of bare minimum. But if you want to do the bare minimum, buy a translator and off you go. It's easy.
I must say, I like the idea very much that this is a time for investment. This is a time for innovation. This is a time for rethinking how you're going to use the new and rich exchanges of data that ISO 20022 bring about. What I particularly like is this idea that one shouldn't be the guy on the deck of the Titanic congratulating himself that he got the cheapest possible life jacket.
No, absolutely. So when you talk about minimum again, right? So one of the things we constantly hear, and a big concern area for a lot of banks, at least people who've thought this through, is that truncation is an issue. And that's a real problem, because MX is a rich structured message format. Most of these systems, if you're going to only use a translator, are going to go into a much more simple empty system that, for all practical purposes, might have been built in the late 90s, right? So there are at least two points of data loss. One is the empty system, the target system, not having enough data fields. The second one is, even if you have a data field, it not supporting the same number of characters of data coming through from an MX message. It's something we've worked a lot on, right? And I think from a platform, from a tool standpoint, we are able to address that out of the box. So Fiorano can translate, we can step down. What we can uniquely do, because we have embedded API capabilities, MQ, and Kafka connectors and all that, is when we step down an MX to an MT, while we step down fields and characters within a field to target system requirements, in addition to normal translators, which would just add a plus mark to indicate that a field has been truncated, we are able to also send a text file with the UETR number, with the full character for every field that's been truncated, and also mention every single field that was not sent through to a target empty system. That's quite unique. Now, going back to the early point you mentioned, it's all done by UETR, but we have a pretty foolproof way of guaranteeing, at least making sure that the data that may get stepped down when untruncated, when MX gets converted to MT, is still available to the bank, right? And they can then push that data to a database or to a text file or to an API or to a message queue, wherever they want to. But at least you have that ability.